Hey everybody, welcome back. It's your human anatomy and physiology teacher, Mr. Poser. Today we are continuing our unit on the integumentary system by discussing skin appendages. And by appendages, no, I do not mean that your skin has arms and legs, more like your arms and legs have skin, right? But what I'm talking about here are the structures that we're really going to find commonly in the dermis, which is the connective tissue layer below the epidermis. So it's right deep to the epidermis, and this is where you're going to find glands. This is where you're going to find hair follicles. This is where you're going to find nerve endings and blood vessels, and lots of stuff that really makes the skin very functional. So what we're going to get into today are lots of different glands. We'll talk about hair follicles, and we'll also discuss nails as well. So we're going to get into the rest of the integumentary system, appendages, in this video today. So without further ado, let's get going here. The first type of gland that we're going to talk about is called an eccrine gland. An eccrine, that's E-C-C-R-I-N-E. And this is your run-of-the-mill typical sweat gland. It's found on your palms, the soles of your feet, and your forehead in large concentrations because that's where you're going to sweat out the most. And the sweat that comes out of eccrine glands is mostly water. It is 99% water. A very, very small fraction of the substance that comes out of your eccrine glands is any kind of metabolic waste. So yeah, we know that sweat is salty, but it's only a very, very minute amount of metabolic waste that comes out. So the idea that you can get rid of toxins out of your body, by sweating is not really based in science at all, on account of the fact that there's hardly any metabolic waste at all that appears in your sweat. It's mostly water. Either way, this is very, very important for regulating body temp, because once eccrine glands secrete that water, water evaporates off of your surface of the skin, and it results in a process called evaporative cooling, which eventually, cools your body down, returns you back to a normal body temperature if it gets raised up too high, or well, at least it tries to. Hey, so also the other thing, like funny story, I had a roommate my freshman year who, anytime he would get a cold or sick, any kind of illness at all, he would put on like 3 hoodies and run laps around our dorms, so that he could try to sweat out his cold. Again, there's no science behind that. You barely get rid of anything besides the water when you sweat, let alone a virus. So yeah, that's not true. If anybody tells you that it is, it's false. Okay. Moving on to apocrine glands. Apocrine glands are located on your axillary areas, meaning your pits, right? So this is where BO comes from. So how do you get BO? Well, your apocrine glands, which are related to sweat glands, they release sweat, so that water and metabolic waste, plus a little bit of fat and proteins as well. And bacteria that live on the surface of your skin, on the stratum corneum and the epidermis, what they do is they break down that fat and the proteins, and what that metabolic byproduct of them breaking down the fat and proteins causes that body odor. So apocrine glands, they're supposed to stink a little bit, as they are evolutionary vestiges of like pheromone glands. So you see like dogs and cats sniffing each other's butts and like rubbing themselves on like your furniture, right? What they're doing is leaving behind a pheromone, which is it's like a chemical that can, help other cats and dogs communicate with it and just figure out like, hey, I own this. This is mine, or that kind of thing, or like, hey, it's mating season or whatever. So apocrine glands are kind of vestiges, they're remnants of those kind of pheromone glands that you get from that, cats and dogs have. Common ancestry, everybody. Common ancestry. All right. So moving on from apocrine glands, there are ceruminous glands in your ears, and these secrete earwax, essentially. And earwax does have a purpose. It actually protects the ears against infection, as in, your ear, your auditory canal is it's a nice gateway for certain invaders to get into your body, and bacteria are blocked, or whatever else is blocked, by earwax. So it does serve a purpose, especially when you're a young child. Your eustachian tubes, which is a connection from I believe, your ears to your nasal passages. Before that's fully developed, it's got a shape in such a way that it's very, very prone to infection. So earwax can actually help protect against ear infections. So it does serve its purpose. Yeah, you got to take a Q-tip and clean it out every once in a while when it gets excessive, but it does have a purpose. All right, another type of gland. It's again similar to eccrine glands in their structure and well, not function, but similar in structure is the mammary gland. So we are mammals. That means individuals of the female sex are able to produce milk for the offspring. So just like any other mammal. And yeah, mammary glands can be found, in the mammary region on a member of the female sex, and its job is to secrete milk for the offspring. All right, let's keep going. Oil glands are a little different. Oil glands are also called, I'm going to throw this in here, they're called sebaceous glands. And it looks like my text is too big. Let me adjust this really quick. So they're also called sebaceous glands because the product that they secrete is also called sebum. And sebum is secreted into the hair follicles within the dermis. So when you're looking at a diagram of the skin, which you'll be hopefully looking at in the next video, sebaceous glands are attached to the hair follicle and they deposit oil into the hair follicle. So sebum itself is a lipid substance that's job is to soften and lubricate the epidermis, and its job is to slow down water loss from it. So it kind of makes it a little more waterproof in addition to those layers of keratinocytes in the epidermis. So hormones, especially the kind that are very frequently secreted during puberty, they control secretion of these sebaceous glands. And what happens when these sebaceous glands become blocked, or they they become blocked and they cause an infection, or they get infected, what that results in is acne, also known as acne vulgaris, or pimples, or zits, or whatever you want to call it. So we got a diagram down here showing how the sebaceous gland, how it can accumulate sebum, and then it can get blocked up and infected, and that's a pimple, that's a zit. And as far as acne goes, I want to say like 99.5% of the human population has ever had acne. And acne vulgaris actually means common. Vulgaris means common in Latin. So, don't feel bad because literally everybody gets it. You know, all these skincare routines and products that are made to do this, made to prevent this from happening. I mean, they can be somewhat effective, but I mean, it's very common. Extremely common. Everybody gets it, so don't feel bad. All right, let's move on to talking about hair. All right, hair. So hair is made up of keratin. It's that same protein that you can find in abundance in the epidermis. So keratinocytes produce keratin, right? So hair is hardened keratin here, and it's a different folding of that protein. But it's made of 3 layers: the medulla, the cortex, and the cuticle. The cuticle is the outermost part of the hair. Hopefully we can take a look at hair underneath a microscope before too long. The cuticle, which is the outermost layer, it ends up wearing away at the tip of the hair, and that's how you get split ends. That's when you know you need a haircut, right? And melanocytes, which are the same cells that produce melanin and control your skin color, are also the same cells that control hair color as well. So as you can see from this picture over here, brown or black hair is mostly caused by eumelanin, and blonde hair is pheomelanin, a little eumelanin, and similar to red hair. So hair color is largely controlled by melanin as well. Let's talk about our 3 different types of hair that we can have through our development. The first is called terminal hair. Terminal meaning it's at the end. So it's the type of hair that grows in your head, in pubic regions, and all parts of your body. So it's hardened, colored hair. It's like adult hair, Androgen, which is another hormone responsible for a lot of secondary sex characteristics, controls body hair. So yeah, that's terminal hair. Before you get terminal hair, you have vellus hair, which is also known as peach fuzz, which is short, fine, colorless hair, and it can also be found all over. So during puberty, during the development of secondary sex characteristics, vellus hair can turn into intermediate or terminal hair. So that's just part of getting older, right? And vellus hair helps to regulate body temperature. They all help to regulate body temperature. But vellus hair is still able to do that despite it not being colored and thick as terminal hair. And finally, the third type of hair that I'd like to discuss is called Lenugo, which is a special downy hair that completely covers the human baby inside the womb. So this one doesn't really get talked about as much, but it is another type of hair. It's even softer and more colorless than vellus hair, and that is found in the womb, and it's eventually replaced by your peach fuzz. All right, so last topic I'd like to discuss are nails, and how can nails and hair be made of the same protein? Well, it's just different foldings of that protein. I don't really want to get into it that much, but um, they're both made of keratin, despite this being, softer than the hard surface of your nails. So yeah, your nails are made of keratin as well. The nail matrix produces the nail distally over the nail bed. So what does that mean? Well, your nails grow out. They grow from the base out. I think everybody knows that, but that we just know that that's distally now because we went over that in class. They appear pink to the bed of capillaries beneath it. So its nail's job is really to protect the fingertips because you gotta have a lot of nerve endings in your fingertips because that's how you feel things, right? So the nail's job is to protect those nerve endings, and they're also vestiges of since we share a common ancestor with lots of different mammals. They're vestiges of claws as well. So they provide protection for our fingers and toes. All right. That should be it for this video for appendages, and we should have one more talking about the diagrams for our integumentary system and getting into the anatomy of it. All right, that's it. See you later. Bye.